Hello, my name is Paige Shetler, and this is my informative speech for Communication 101. According to drugabusestatistics.org, 46.6% of teenagers have used illicit drugs by the time they reached 12th grade. At this point in their lives, most students have utilized marijuana, and more than a third of students have used alcohol, nicotine, or an illicit drug. Drug abuse can have a negative impact on the health and lives of teenagers. I'm sure you have teenagers in your life, and I'm sure it is important to you that they stay safe. Teenage drug abuse has life-changing negative consequences. Teenagers make the choice to use drugs for many reasons. High school students use non-medical prescription opioids for the following reasons: to relieve tension, to feel good, to experiment, to relieve physical pain, and to have a good time. Teenagers are susceptible to peer pressure. They are reward-focused, and they oftentimes feel the need to escape. According to Mayo Clinic, quote, "The teen brain is still in the process of maturing. In general, it's more focused on rewards and taking risks than the adult brain," end quote. The teenage brain's focus on reward systems and risk-taking makes teens more susceptible to peer pressure as well as addiction. Many drugs also release dopamine in the brain, producing the reward response teenage brains focus on. The release of dopamine is what can often lead teens to addiction. In teens, there are both short-term and long-term consequences of substance abuse. Effects of drug use in teens include arrest, loss of relationships, birth defects in pregnancy, serious illness or injury, workplace issues, and suspension or expulsion from school. All of these possible outcomes have detrimental, lifelong impacts on the lives of teens. Mayo Clinic lists drug dependence, poor judgment, sexual activity, mental health disorders, impaired driving, and changes in school performance as negative effects of substance abuse in teens. The use of drugs impairs the ability for critical thinking, which can lead to poor decision-making. Teenagers who participate in the use of drugs could make decisions leading to long-term challenges such as STDs, failing classes, and reckless driving. Drug abuse impairs the minds of teens and can hurt their performance in school. If this continues for long, it can impact their grades, their chance at graduating, and their chance to be accepted to college. Impairment can also lead to poor decision-making, leading to criminal acts that may end up on one's permanent record and hurting their chances of landing a job one day. These actions can not only have long-term negative impacts on the teenager, but also on the people around them. Mayo Clinic also states that even marijuana, which is legal in most states, can have side effects including impairment in memory, learning, problem-solving, and concentration, as well as risk of psychosis, such as schizophrenia, hallucination, or paranoia. Illicit drugs can have much worse side effects, often including stroke and death. Even use of a drug one time can lead to addiction and health problems to follow. Struggling with addiction can lead to criminal acts, loss of relationships, and health problems. Use of drugs impairs your ability to think critically, which can lead to acting irrationally and pushing away those around you. In the worst of cases, drug abuse can also lead to hospitalization and even death. It is important to educate teens about the effects of drugs in order for them to make informed decisions. With the growing accessibility to drugs and teens' vulnerability to the issue, it is critical for us to take precautions to protect the teens in our lives. Treatment options for teens struggling with addiction include therapy, medication, hospitalization, and support groups. These treatment options may sound drastic. This is why we need to broach the topic of drug safety with teens now. Mayo Clinic lists preventative strategies to protect your children from drug abuse. Some suggestions they list include discussing the topic of drugs with your teen in a neutral environment, when both parties are in a positive headspace, and when both parties are sober. You can help to prevent drug abuse by talking to teens you know. If you have teenagers, discuss the consequences with them, establish rules, keep track of their prescription drugs. If you are in a position to make a larger impact, such as a teacher, administrator, or coach, please take the time to speak to teens about this issue. According to drugabusestatistics.org, over 2 million teens aged 12 to 17 reported using drugs in December of 2022. The amount of overdose deaths in 15 to 24-year-olds between the years 1999 to now have increased exponentially. We must take action to prevent abuse in children in order to avoid long-term effects to their health. I challenge you to broach the topic of drug abuse with a teen in your life and to become part of the solution.